884 y 552-0717 en Verón, frente a Montilla Motors, Plaza Roque 3, teléfono 809-455-1565.
Papelería Higüeyana, empresa es calidad y servicio, la más completa.
Papelería Higüeyana, ayer, hoy, mañana y siempre, la más completa.
Hi everybody, it's your boy Mario Fama, aka Yo Soy Blanco, pero no soy banco. And I want to welcome everybody to another one of our podcast episodes here. And first, I want to take some time out to thank our sponsors. First, our sponsors, Naco Cochones, right here with sucursales in Punta Cana and in, obviously, Naco in Santo Domingo. Then we have Gold Leaf Properties. Gold Leaf Properties, they have tons of properties here in Bávaro, various projects, some of them with beach access, as well as Playa Nueva Romana, where they're going to be building a marina. They have the PGA Oceans 4 golf course. It's amazing. And then just a whole bunch of stuff that they have there, houses and apartments. And then also, I want to say thank you to Grupo Samana. There we go. No, Cochones, got to switch it up. There we go. Samana Group, one of the biggest landholders in Samana. They have tons of great designs that they're doing there, and I'm wearing my Las Terrenas hat in honor of them today. If you want to know about Samana, you want to know about real luxury, unique building in Samana, reach out to them. I'll have all the links available in the YouTube and everywhere else. So welcome, guys, and I'm back again with my boy Pablo here because I feel like we didn't get a chance the last time to – we're going to keep talking because him and I have a lot of stuff to talk about since we're both from New York.
Got a lot.
Yeah, we're back from all the same stuff. So,
What's up? Thanks for having me back. I appreciate it. You didn't kick me off, so I'm glad you didn't.
No,
it means it went well.
We were going back and forth. We couldn't believe an hour went. I can go 2-3 hours sometimes on this.
Exactly.
How's your week? Good?
Good, man. Good. It's been an interesting week. A lot of work. As you know, I don't know if I would necessarily consider you a remote business owner, but at the same time, I kind of do because you bounce around a lot of different places, right? So it's you definitely understand where it's I'm a little bit different because I'm technically not in the country that I'm supposed to actually work in, right? Because I'm not an attorney yet in the Dominican Republic going through the process, but I'm not an attorney yet here. So it's for my firm in the States, I have to be able to deal with clients. I have to be able to get clients. I have to be able to find those opportunities to go to speak with them. So it's been an interesting week trying to figure all that out.
And it does take a toll on you. I do it. I was back in Panama before I did the last show. I was in Panama. Now I'm planning. I think I have to go back to Panama. I'm doing something with the Colombian military, actually, with my dress for the kids in December in Medellin. So I'll be going to Medellin. So I understand hopping around. People say you're everywhere. And when I'm not in Punta Cana and I'm not in another country, I'm in Santo Domingo, I'm in Santiago, I kind of pop up everywhere. And so I understand what it's like. You feel like you're everywhere but nowhere at the same time.
Yeah. It's really interesting. And the funny part about Punta Cana is that you do meet a lot of people that are in the similar boat. You meet a lot of people a lot of expats. I went to a baby shower over the weekend and ran into a bunch of business owners from the States that I have no idea how they landed in Punta Cana. I have no idea how they're doing business in Punta Cana, but they're living their best life. So, it's awesome.
Every time, whenever you deal with these, especially here, I think Punta Cana, because you get a lot of expats that are business expats, because different areas have a different demographic, I think, right?
Well, hold on. I'm sorry to cut you off, but that's actually a question that I did have for you, right? Bouncing around the island, where do you see more expats? Because I think they're kind of all over the island, but do you see a difference in terms of the type of expat that is here
100%.
at all? Yeah.
100%. Yeah. When you go to Sosúa, for example, because I've lived and been all around the country, when you're in Sosúa, there's a special kind of person there. The special people, as I call them, the Clisantians, right? I came up with those. If anybody ever says it, Clisantians, I invented that word.
I'm a trademark attorney. I got you.
There you go. Remember, we said it right here on the show. Then you have your retired Canadian couples. Yeah. They're there hanging out. They have the little bars. And then you have some of the newer guys that are coming in there from the States. And excuse me. And you have a bunch of different people in Sosúa. It's a different vibe. And you have some families as well. Now, you move over to Cabarete. That's kite surfers,
right.
people who think they're better than the people in Sosua
Right.
because they're like, oh no, we live in Cabarete, oceanfront.
Right. We have a coffee shop here.
Right.
Yeah,
They're more like, the exclusive people there. They feel like, oh, Sosua so below me. And it's really weird because they have that demographic, right?
Right.
And even the working girls that are in Sosua, they just, the ones that look good, they just dress up better when they go to Lac Soho on the weekend. They go to all these different places, like, on the beach there.
Yeah.
So it's a different kind of thing. And then you have Las Terrenas. Las Terrenas has that super beach vibe. I'm on a four-wheeler. Like, that's the whole, I'm Caribbean, chilling, Costa Rica vibe, kind of like Guanacaste. That's kind of what it reminds me of, right?
Me too,
like, more like the gringos are at the colmado in front of the, what do you call it, right there in the malecón, and they're drinking beers and rum with the locals.
Right. Hanging out in the street.
That's the one, like, como, oye, puro pueblo, puro campo. Tú sabes?
Different
and
vibe.
Then you have Valladolid, where you have a lot of Europeans and some, like, South Americans there.
Right. I noticed that too.
That feels like a European-ish village.
Well, you can go to Bahia and just speak Italian all day if you want. There's so many Italians.
And that's like French in Las Terrenas.
Yeah, right.
Though I've heard the people are changing now, right? The new buyers that are buying Las Terrenas are younger families. The demographic is definitely changing. Now, when it comes to the most business kind of people, you find them here in Punta Cana and in certain parts, like the Village, Cap Cana, Las Canas, with some in Cocotala, I feel. That's where the most of the business. When you start getting to the other complexes here, they're more kind of like I'm retiring, semi-retired or whatever. I feel like they're in certain areas. And obviously, if you run into an expat in Santo Domingo, they're usually doing some kind of business, right? They're not there because, look at the beautiful beach on the Malecón in Santo Domingo, Washington.
Look at this beautiful building, like now.
In Santiago, I find they're just like, man, this is dope. I'm chilling. Life is good. And that's it. It's a really, like, Santiago to me is like a totally different vibe than all the rest of the place. If you're in Santiago, you've kind of like settled in.
Right.
And you're chilling.
Well, that's interesting because, like, the initial idea when we moved here, right, was that we're gonna stay in Punta Cana for a little bit, right, get used to it, kind of make sure that we like it, make sure this is the vibe, this everything that we're looking for, and then the plan was eventually to say, well, but we're gonna move up north, like we're gonna get up there, right, like once we're more comfortable, right, but I don't want to leave Punta Cana. Like, I'm super happy here, so we're already comfortable, we're chilling here. But I had noticed a difference because I've definitely traveled around the island on my own, and then I've also done various nonprofit events and work with the government in a bunch of different areas. And I always find it interesting how, like, we're in Punta Cana, like, we're seen as just la playa, the beach, right? Like, if you're here, that's all you're here for, right? But I also find that most of the entrepreneurs that I really meet are from expats anyway, I would say, are definitely in the Punta Cana area. Like, I mean, there's people doing tons of business out here. And I think it's because the population it's growing the fastest from what I've understood in the entire island, or at least top 3 in the entire island areas. And then when you have that fast population growth, everybody needs services that just aren't, some of them are not here, unfortunately, right? And I had some friends actually in town that they just moved here from New Jersey, right? So we're, sorry, kind of pulling them in a little bit. At least they're Dominican, right? So they're Dominicanos, so don't worry about that. But the thing is that like, the businesses that they do, it's a lot of digital media stuff, but it's very hard to find even what they do here.
Very
different. So that's what I'm trying to, like, convince him, the guy that's coming, one of the guys, and I'm like, look, if you just take the idea of what you're doing in the States and the services and what you're known for in the States and just do it here, I think it'd be fine. And so it's interesting, man. I love having those conversations.
One thing about that, and that's really interesting, because I was in meetings all day. I've been in meetings since 10 o'clock in the morning. And one of the things that I find hard to find here in the Dominican Republic in general, especially in Punta Cana, is digital marketing, digital media. Yeah. We're in an area where there is gazillion dollars of real estate being sold, plus all these other businesses.
Yeah.
And you have all these different things going on here, and we need real digital people. But if you really realize it, a lot of people, especially if they speak in Spanish, it's harder for those of us that run an English-speaking business because my marketing is done mostly in English. But we're outsourcing to Venezuela. We're outsourcing to Colombia.
Okay.
Because even like some of our, if you're not using one CRM from this country, you're using something out of Mexico. The thing is, here's the thing, right? Mm. We lack those resources in digital marketing, but when they come to Punta Cana, it's like, oh, I'm in Punta Cana, I'm going to charge 3 times more than they charge in Dubai.
Right.
That's the problem. Like, the prices here,
I had noticed that,
are like being in South Beach, right? We're being South Beach here, to put it bluntly. So if people come here and give a fair rate and do all this digital stuff, there's a lot of work to be done here. But I'm telling you right now, renderings, a lot of stuff, we're outsourcing out to Venezuela or Colombia.
And that's crazy too, because you're in real estate, so that's what I'm thinking automatically. It's like, the amount of rent. I mean, I see a new rendering of some project every single day on my feed, right? So it's like all of that work. It's the rendering itself. It's the construction. You can't outsource the construction, obviously, right? But it's still like the rendering.
Oh, they
is
do
still
it.
like
No, it's outsourced.
Okay, well there you go.
You see who builds
yeah.
every morning on the highway?
yeah,
That's
well,
outsourced.
that's a whole nother conversation. You're right about that. But then basically it's like, well, all of the digital component to it, the media that comes across with it, the renderings for it. How do we market this? How do we get people in the States? What's the target audience, right? Because it's like I do see where. Not that. I was asked a question actually that I'll take it back to this. I was asked a question maybe about a month ago. A friend of mine was like, "Do you think that Punta Cana is like oversaturated, right? Like with like properties that are available to people?" And my answer was like, yes, but no, because I do see that like the population is growing. So I do think there's a demand because you would know more than me, but I definitely see that every single project, not every single project, but a good portion of the projects are sold out. Like before a brick is in, like it's sold out, right? So there's a need and there's people coming, but then that's my whole thing. It's like, well, what about all those ancillary services around that? Like, how can we get known for it here? I don't know. You know, like it may be as an issue of just having the talent to do it, right? Because like I've been to Colombia a lot too for work, and I've spoken at a bunch of conferences, and I had this dream some time ago to bring an actual like a tech conference to Punta Cana, right? It was in the crypto industry, right, at that time, and I went to Colombia and I noticed a huge difference in terms of the infrastructure for the tech, in terms of the amount of people that were there, in terms of the availability. It's like it's not here yet. You know, so interesting stuff.
It's not because you made a very valid point. We're growing and the properties are selling, but we still are at that point where we need the actual people to be living here, right? I call it the accordion. It's like we're going to outgrow in construction, but then the people are going to come in and then we're going to be fine. And then we'll probably outgrow later. I mean, I anticipate over the next 50 to 100 years, they're going to build all the way to Meaches. All of this is going to be going up, right?
Yeah,
so that's
definitely.
what I think. But I think what happens is that there's not enough emphasis here, and I'm being honest, anywhere in the country in general, on real growth, meaning create business, create, with the exception of Grupo Punta Cana, I believe they're doing a trade-free zone here. They're building it there, right? Like a tech-free zone. It's going to be very interesting to see when that gets built, what kind of business that's going to bring here. So I think it can be done, but it requires a visionary. It requires people to actually put it together and not think in the concept of like we're in Dubai. Because remember, everything is still expensive. Like Punta Cana and Santo Domingo to me are more expensive than Colombia, more expensive than Mexico, more expensive than Panama, which is on the dollar, right?
Definitely.
So at the end of the day, if you want to bring business here, yes, but you have to get rid of that concept that's very common here. It's like, okay, I'm going to provide this service. I want $1 million. No, because then I'm not going to use you. I prefer to use the guys in Venezuela that do a great job than to use somebody here who's going to charge me twice the amount of money.
Right.
I mean, business is business. And you have to remember, yes, people do make money here, but our bills here, we're paying, with the exception of property being cheaper, right? So let's talk about that. Property's cheaper, right?
Yeah.
And your health insurance annually here, local high-end health insurance is cheaper.
Right.
Outside of those two things, we are paying Florida money for going out to eat.
Yep.
We're paying Florida money for most of the things. And then when you talk about goods, anywhere from my Lysol video that I put up, Lysol wipes, to cars that are 40 to 60, even sometimes 100% more. Some cars, like Lexus is like
which
90%
is crazy.
more, right?
Yeah, crazy. Yeah.
So we need a lot of money to live here. I want to just, especially when you're talking about the major cities like Santo Domingo here, and even Santiago, though it's cheaper, it's still not cheap. I spend less money in Panama on the dollar, right?
Well,
so what ends up happening?
Talk about it, because I know we've spoken about this kind of like off camera. I know sometimes it gets to you with a lot of people out there saying like, "Oh, come here and you have $500, you can live great for the month," and it's like,
hamina.
Right.
I'll explain to you. Real life here, right? Because people think real life here is the colmado. People think that real life here is like the cheap. Yes, you can move to a barrio. You can move to, Lomina and get a 10,000 peso, apartment. I mean, that's like moving to like Mississippi and living in a trailer park. You can do that here. You can trailer park it here, right?
Right.
But let's talk about the rest of us that are working, that are living here, that came here to have an equal or better life. Because I'm not going to be like, yo, Pablo, it's really expensive here, B. I'm going to Thailand to live in the slums. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, why would I do that?
Like, I grew up in the projects in New York. Like, I'm not going
You're
back. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I don't need an air conditioner or an open wall. I've seen hoods where they don't even have a wall.
Right.
So life is very expensive for us here. I think people need to understand you do get more for your money, right?
Yeah, right.
And especially when it comes to the real estate. But there's a catch to it, right? Shopping in the supermarket, I pay the same as Publix. right?
Yeah.
Because I buy imported products because I like imported products, right? I want Boar's Head products. I want Angus or Brangus beef. I don't want the stuff that I can't eat.
Right.
Okay, certain things might be a little cheaper, but then when I get olives, I get a few things. I mean, I spend $100 by myself. I'm a single guy, right? Well, I have a girlfriend, but I'm a single guy here in Punta Cana, meaning shopping for a single person. And I do about $200 easily every week and a half or something like that. Because, you buy olives, you buy some cold cuts, you buy some good beef, you buy this.
And they were at a higher end because they had to get imported and they get taxed and all that type of stuff to bring them in. Yeah.
Coffee, $5.
Yeah.
Toothpaste, $5. Mouthwash, $7. You buy a couple of things for your house that you need, and you just blew $50, $70,
like
and you haven't even got a piece of bread.
It's like going to Target in the States.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the cost of living here is higher. So people have to understand when they're going to come here and they're going to do business with people in Punta Cana, don't assume that we're all walking around with $1 billion because we got high bills. My car here cost me 2.4 times a month than it would cost me in the United States.
Yep.
Okay, my rent is cheaper, but also I have higher taxes here. If I was in Florida, my taxes would be a fraction of what I pay here.
Right.
Right?
Of course.
So that's one of those things that people have to understand. They can't come here and be like, oh, y'all live in DR, everything's cheap, and I'm going to charge you a lot of money because you're rich. It's not like that. We have a lot of bills here. And when you look at it, look, a couple, you and your wife, right?
Yeah.
To really live nicely. Let's just say you had a mortgage also where you're at. Let's say you had a mortgage and you came here and you put down 30, 40% and you got a car, right?
Right.
You're going to significantly be paying more than
Of
you
course.
would to be living in Fort Lauderdale or
course.
anywhere in Broward.
Well,
right?
let's talk about that because interest rates, time frames. What I got my house for was it was like a 5.5 interest rate, right? Like at the time, and that was a private here, but that was private from the guy that built it, right? So it was a little bit different. We had the banks quoting us like 6.5, 7.5, but it goes up to 13 in some places.
So now you're about 9, depending on how it
Right.
hits and that's good.
Right.
That's dollars.
That's good.
If
No,
you're
right.
pesos,
That's what
you're
I'm
at like
saying.
17, 14, 13. Interest rates in most of Latin America tend to be much higher.
Mm-hmm.
And
In general,
and the terms are shorter.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
So what
not 30-year mortgages. It's
I was messing around with
15,
the math.
20 max.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was messing around with the math when I came back from Florida, and what I realized when I came back from Florida is that you can afford a $100,000 mortgage here gives you a $200,000 mortgage in Florida. So you have to look at it like that, right? Also, like I just came back from Panama, so even though this is DR, but I'm going to keep going to Panama because I'm looking to open up an office there. Hopefully, it works out, and I'm going to be going to Colombia a lot. That's my circle. Going New York, Florida, South Florida, Medellin, and then Panama and here.
Not that bad of a circle.
Not a bad circle. And dude, I went to Panama, and a guy bought a $120,000 apartment where he got a 4% loan from the central bank because he works for the airport,
right,
with $5,000 down. I was like,
oh, wow.
What? And he's paying like 500 something bucks a month.
Sign me up. Give me 2.
Right. And then he bought a $25,000 slightly used Hyundai Tucson, right?
Right.
25 G's instead of
Rocking
33 or
around.
35 here,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And he put
and it's probably newer. Yeah.
$2,500 down, and he was only paying $320 a month.
You think though there's that because here the national currency is the peso, even though everybody takes dollars too. Do you think it's because if I'm not mistaken, Panama is dollar based?
Yeah,
right?
they
Like,
have
that's
the
it.
ball, but it's
Yeah.
just the money. That's it.
Yeah, I got you.
I think what it is just the high taxes here. People have to be ready for that. I think talking about that is a big thing that is, I'm known as the receipt guy in the expat groups. I'm constantly putting receipts so people can see what the real cost of life is here.
Right.
And we have the Clesantians from the North Coast, and only about like 18% of the businesses in the Dominican Republic are actually legit registered paying taxes.
Yeah.
That's out. They had a whole PMS.
I saw that. Yeah.
Right. So what ends up happening is these people that come from these smaller towns, these expats that live there, they come to Santo Domingo, they come to Punta Cana or Santiago, and they're like, oh my God, Harold, we're being gringo priced. What is it, 28%? No, they're doing tax evasion where they're at.
Right.
You have to add 28%.
That's the actual law what you're
Exactly.
supposed to do. Yeah.
10% mandatory tip regardless of service, 18%.
Right.
And then it's customary here for them, because they call it lay. That's a cool thing, right? It's not a tip, lay. And if they think you don't know, they ask you for money on top of that.
Of course.
I did a video on that.
Yeah.
So what ends up happening is your bills here, because of high taxation, come out higher. Your menu price on something, it doesn't matter. There are many products that you have to pay. Cars, the high taxes that come in, electrodomésticos, the high price of that. So
The Cybertron.
Cybertron. Seeing them crappy things everywhere. But that's the thing. It's like the high taxes here, because we're an island, and the taxation system. It was interesting. The president, before he got elected, there's an old video of him where he admitted that the lower the taxes, the more people, the masses, will pay. The higher, the more people will try to evade it. And that I've seen that proven in Panama, where there's no tax on food in the restaurant, only on alcohol. And it's like a 7% tax, where you can grab an ice cream for $1 and pay the guy through your app, and that's it.
And that's it. You're done.
Right.
Yeah.
And nobody's people are not evading taxes because it's so low. So in turn, people have to be ready of what the real true cost of living.
Right.
So talking about you and your wife, 2 people, right?
Right.
You need at least 4,000 to 5,000
minimum,
and you're not even saving money. Let's say that was your income here, right?
I mean, of course, like you said, you can go and be like, you know what, I'm a low ball at $1,500 a person and job. Okay, that's available to you.
Correct.
But the thing is that, like, don't expect to come to Punta Cana and like live the beach life. Like it's not going to work out.
It's available to me to live in Brownsville houses as well.
Right, exactly. Right, exactly. Great point.
Right.
Great point. Right. So it's got to be at least that, right? And the thing is that, for example, like I knew that I was ready for it, right? Like I expected. I didn't. First of all, I was coming from New York, which is one of the most expensive cities to live in the world anyway, right? So anything below that was a win for me.
Correct.
Right? So I was like, okay, fine. So it depends where you're coming from, like in the States, right? If you're coming from I don't know, like a Midwestern state or some sort of Southern state where you're expecting that like like Texas. Let's say you're coming from Texas and you're going to spend $300,000 and expect to have a mansion. Like that's not going to happen here, right? Like
wrong.
Right, exactly. So it's like I knew that going into it. I did the research on it, and I'm like, well, you know what? I'm spending this much money in New York, and like I don't have a beach. So even if I spend the same amount of money, at least I'll be next to the beach. F it, let's go, let's do it. And I think that the time away, right? Where the time away from like having a full-time job, right? Like you're kind of forced to think differently. I've become an entrepreneur here. I never was an entrepreneur in my entire life in New York, right? That's just never me. I worked city government. That was been my whole career, nonprofit stuff. I came here and I was like, well, I have time to think. And I was kind of almost like forced to say like, well, I need to be able to bring in more money than what's going on right now. Let's get this going, right? So figuring out, okay, what can I do? I'm an attorney. Okay, great. That's my first skill set. Let's figure out how I can actually work and have my company still based in the United States, but be able to live here most of the year. And the area that I work in is intellectual property. So intellectual property, that's a federal thing. So I don't need to go to court, right? Which is a big thing that I don't ever want to go to court, right? So I found my way, but yes, you need to be able to do that and bring in the money to be able to sustain your livelihood here, right? And I think that is kind of a misconception that people have. There's a few misconceptions about Punta Cana. And I think that's the first one, where it's you can come here and live on a low ball budget.
But do you want to?
But do you really want to? Like, for that, stay where you're at.
Right, because
like,
at least you have certain systems there. You might have your health care. You might have that you don't have to pay for it, because it all offsets itself. You know, going out here, like, I mean, 2 people, I like to have my rum and stuff. If I go out with my girl, she doesn't even drink, but if I go out, we have a couple of drinks or whatever, I'm breaking 100 and something. Easily. Yeah. And now, here's the thing. Some of you guys are going to be like, well, I'm from New York or Toronto, and that's a hamburger. Yeah, I know, but we can't always just compare it to that. We have to look at life in general in other places. You know, when I was in Fort Lauderdale, I spent less at the West End on Lauderdale by the beach than I do here, you know, in Punta Cana for breakfast in certain places. So you have to see where. Now, if the person's coming, so I was in Hollandale, I was in those areas. 3 guys, me with a whole bunch of Zacapa shots, 23 drinks or whatever. 200 and
I love that. I love Zacapa.
Yeah, you like it? Yeah, I'm more of a Dominican rum guy, but.
Yeah.
So basically, 3 guys, 2 of us drinking, had dinner in Hollywood, $200 and something. Okay. I spend more than that here.
Yeah, me too.
Right, especially if I'm drinking like equivalent to Zacapa 23. The reason I mentioned that because it wasn't like some Gran Añejo, lo que sea.
No, it's like
right. So
Bottle Imperial or something here. Yeah.
So that's what it is. It depends. If you're coming from like northern Florida or northern past Miami, you're gonna be like, wow, things are a little bit expensive here. If you're coming from Miami, from South Beach, I mean everything's cheaper. You know what I mean? You're coming
especially
from New York. But I've spent $30 on a burger here in Cap Cana. $30 on a burger and a water.
Yep.
That's U.S. prices, right? I mean, it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
And that's what people have to understand.
And I think it's all about like the attitude that you walk into the country with, right? Like, I've been here almost 8 years now, and I've met people that don't speak, even to this day, don't speak a word of Spanish, right? Or like I'm trying to help them understand, like to speak more Spanish, and yet they're completely comfortable here. Absolutely love it. all the issues that we've spoken about, like they know them, they deal with them, they manage them, but yet they're completely happy, have no interest. They want to leave their life behind in the States and move down here, right? And then I've met other people that are like, well, I'm in Punta Cana, but why isn't this more like Chicago? You know, and it's like, you're in the Caribbean, bro. It's a whole different lifestyle. It's a whole different culture. So it's like understanding that you're stepping on an island that is not like your state. Like, that's the reason you're here. So embrace it and enjoy it. And I think that everything you're speaking about is important to do the homework if you consider moving here, because
Correct.
you have to
Anywhere.
know. You have to know anywhere. Right. That goes with anywhere in the world. Right.
Because I went through that before I ever went to Panama. I was asking my business partner in New York, and he's half Panamanian. He's been there before. So I was like, dude, how is it? He said, well, it's kind of like price like New York. Well, I went, and it's not. It's cheaper, right? So it depends on who you ask. You got to do the homework yourself. And then obviously post-COVID, everything changed. I have to say, before COVID, Dominican Republic and even Punta Cana wasn't bad. I remember I was like, what are you talking about? This is like the same prices everywhere here in DR. This is nothing. Come COVID, the inflation overall in the whole country has gone crazy.
Right.
So, that's why you have the Clisantians that eat their little 200 peso burgers and plato del día and stuff like that.
I love that name.
Because you know where that is from, right?
No. Where's that from?
So, Pedro Clisante is the main strip in Sosua,
Okay.
where all the ladies of the night
Gotcha.
and the guys that live for that
Gotcha.
And those are the guys that, they're looking for a 2,000 peso girl. They
Yeah,
want
yeah.
150 peso grande, and they eat 150 peso. Like, they just eat any hole in
Yeah,
the wall.
yeah.
Here Franklin's laughing back there, right? So that's
I've
that's
never
an
heard of that.
element.
That's something
That's
that's
an
dope.
element to Sosua. That's the history and culture.
Yeah, right,
Sosua's been
right.
the
Right.
ping,
The spot.
ping,
Yeah,
spot
yeah.
for many
The spot.
years. Cabarete,
The spot.
no, meaning not cabarete at the town, but like, anyway.
area,
So
the area,
I
yeah.
call them Clisantians. It's a special breed of people. Those are the ones that troll the most on social media. They're just like, what is this 18% tax? I eat out of somebody's hand for 150 pesos. So it's a special breed. So that's
I
why
eat
most
eggs for
people-
dinner
Yeah.
for 75 pesos.
And
All
I'm
right.
like, and I tell people, I'm like, listen, man, you don't want to, you can eat like the locals. And I think that's a huge misconception. People say you can eat like the locals. When people say you can eat like the locals, I sit there and I scratch my hair. And I don't have any, because what do you mean eat like
What
the
does that
locals?
mean?
What do you mean?
What does that
That
mean?
they're trying to say that you get one huevo frito and you get two
little bit of
slices
rice and you're
of
good.
salami
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you eat a little bit of white rice. Hey, I got news flash for you, buddies. If you go around Dominican Republic, there are plenty of eat like the locals that are in nice restaurants,
That
eating
are
regular
beautiful,
food,
gorgeous,
all of
yeah,
that. I think
delicious.
it's such a generic, retarded statement.
Which I'm still,
sorry, not supposed to use that word, but
I'm still waiting for more authentic Dominican restaurants to come to Punta Cana. Please
Agreed.
come. Please do. We need more of you here.
Agreed.
There are tons of people here that are waiting to have some really good locrio. That are, like, we need more of that stuff.
and
here.
soup.
And
Chicken
soup.
soup. Like,
Oh my God, bro! Soup is literally my favorite thing to eat in the world. I can't
eat
find it
soup
anywhere
before
good.
every meal.
Yeah.
Right. That's the one thing and I was saying, because in this show I'm going to talk a lot about my travels and where I go. And I was with my business partner, the attorney Jesus,
Yeah.
and he got hooked. I'm East European, so we love soup also.
Okay.
He got hooked. They call it sancocho panameño, but it's chicken soup with white llame and pechuga and everything. And it's great. You eat one before you eat your meal, and you do that. And I love soup. And even Santo Domingo, I'm like, where's the soup?
Yeah,
I love sancocho,
yeah,
but I
yeah.
want chicken soup because chicken soup's actually good for you because of chicken fat.
Yeah.
So especially if you hungover, like here everybody parties. Everybody's hungover all the time.
Right,
We got
right,
rum, we
pretty
got
much.
beer, we're at the beach or whatever,
Right.
So that's another thing. But we do need more authentic food. Like the people that own Buche Perico, there's a spot in Gasco. I forgot the name of it. My girl took me to it. Dude, I was in heaven.
Delicious.
I didn't know. I wanted to order the whole menu. I was like, I'm gonna gain 200 pounds here, and and the food was amazing. And we need more of that. That's why I travel outside of Punta Cana a lot, and I'm always on the road. But I will tell you, one of the closest places here to eat really, really great food, Dominican food, is Típico Bonao at the front
at
of
the-
Casa de Campo.
yeah, the Casa de Campo on the way over
That's
there.
just a classic.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
have
yeah.
two others in Bonao, one on the highway actually in Bonao there. If you want real good food, quipes de chivo, like super juicy, con picante.
yeah,
I love
delicious.
picante. They
Me
have
too.
a homemade picante there.
Yeah.
Like that's a spot. Like I would just drive there just to eat. And they have good chicken soup there.
I go there and I go to a shish kebab. Shish kebab is in La Romana. So shish kebab they have
On the highway.
No, there's two. There's one shish kebab that's on the highway that you get empanadas, you get quipes, you go to that type of stuff. They have really good food there too. I've ordered tons of food there too. But then there's like the actual shish kebab restaurant inside of La Romana.
Oh, I've never been.
Bro, delicious. You get everything you just talked about there. You get chivo, you get everything, and it's all good. And I've been going there 7 years, and I've never had a bad meal there ever. So if we have guests in town, and they're like, we want real like Dominican food. Where do we go? Either I take them to my mother-in-law's house, right? Obviously, or we all go there if she doesn't want to cook.
Now you're making me hungry now.
Yeah, me too, man. What are we doing? I mean, it's like dinner time? What's going on here, man?
But I think we do need that. I think we need more of that here, and I hope that it comes. But I think so. Here's what I think. I don't know if you've seen the plans for downtown. What downtown's going to be?
Enlighten us.
Okay,
Enlighten
so
us.
downtown, starting from basically on one side is the sea, the other part is the beach, and then City Place is going to be built there. That entire downtown area where my office is, all the way to Cabeza del Toro, is going to be one gigantic center of the Caribbean, basically, right?
Okay.
They have stores, they have design district, they're going to build, what do you call them, amphitheaters or like halls for event halls and stuff like that.
That's
I'm starting
great.
to forget English.
Yeah.
And they're
It
gonna,
happens to me too.
houses, everything. So I think now, because the issue I've seen here so far, right? Thinking of it strategically, you've got Corrales Cortecito. It's so small that it's hard to sustain. Up, you can do a restaurant there up to a certain point, but
Right.
because you have the people in Cocotal and they might not want to go up there. And you got the people there, they
Right,
got to eat something
right.
closer.
Right.
Now, when downtown becomes this center of thousands and thousands of places and shops and restaurants and bars, I think they're going to have no choice but to do what happens in Santo Domingo, what happens in other parts of just anywhere in Latin America, right? They're going to build more. They're going to open up different restaurants because you're not going to be able to do pizza, eat a sandwich. You're not going to be able to sustain it. So you got to offer something different.
Right.
And I think that area downtown is going to be it.
That's
Because,
interesting.
dude, it's like houses. You have like 10, I don't even know how many, and it's going to connect to the projects in Cabeza del Toro and the golf course that will belong to Catalonia. That's going to be a DICE signature golf course. You're right. So you can imagine that, like what we know, Punta Cana as of now.
Yeah.
They said 2017, so you guys know I'm brutally honest. I think it's going to be more like 19, 20.
Probably.
Delayed, depending on how migration goes in the streets.
Yeah.
What do you call it? But what do you call it? That's going to be so different. And then people. So, we talked about they're building a lot, and a lot has sold, but maybe the people are not here yet, right?
Yeah.
But when you do all of that, that's when it's going to be like, oh, we're
The
going to Punta
attraction,
Cana.
like,
And then people are
more,
going to be like,
yeah.
oh, resort, yeah, that's cool. I'll do it for 2 days, but I want to be in a condo.
I wanna be here,
I want to be in a
chilling.
hotel. I
Yeah.
want to be like going to the bars, restaurant, nightlife.
Yeah.
What I'm envisioning, and maybe I'm just a visionary, with all those little spots, it could be something super cool como Provenza in Medellin, right? Like when you have like a little restaurant here, a bar here. Like, how you go on Mejia, ¿cómo se dice? No, Gustavo, in Santo Domingo, on the side of Blue Mall.
Yep.
And that whole strip all the way from Piantini to Naco,
To
right?
Naco,
It's
yep.
nothing but bars, restaurant. Like, you want to go out
Chilling.
at night, you want to grab something,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
let's go
yeah,
here,
yeah.
let's go here, Mr.
I
Grill,
love
let's
that.
go to Rumba, whatever, Rumbix or whatever.
Right.
I mean, you got La Posta, you got all that stuff there, Roca Bar and all that kind of stuff. From Evaristo, actually, to there.
I do agree with you. I think that the downtown location, as far as I'm concerned, it's probably the most. I don't know if I would say the most important for our area, because Punta Cana Village, no matter what, like that's going to be there. That's a staple. But I think that being able to build out more of that downtown area, I definitely see more potential there than for stuff you can add in the village, because the village is kind of locked down to a certain extent
Politically and space-wise.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't really expand, and it's not in their master plan to expand.
Exactly,
That's a
right.
family place.
Right,
Village
that
is very
wasn't-
family.
that wasn't it,
They
yeah.
don't want people coming on the weekend. Hookah
Right, right,
party.
right.
That's why they don't have a pool club or anything.
Right.
Their design is different. Where you're going to find the pampara, where you're going to find the bars, restaurants, where
Yeah,
you're going to
yeah,
find
yeah.
that is going to be downtown. Because
course.
think about this Corrales, you could only do a few things. You can't because there's no parking. Just strategically, right?
Yeah.
Downtown, you could build parking. You could have parking spots. You could have people parking in one place and have little golf carts and everything running around. I mean, because it's kind of, when you really look at it, it's just one giant plot. Like, I don't want to say square because it's not,
It's like a U almost.
right. It's like a big U,
like a
but it's
big
all
U
going to be
like
connected,
that.
right?
Right.
So that's if there's anywhere where you're going to create that vibe, right?
Yeah,
Kind
gotta
of
be
like think about like a
downtown.
downtown. I've never been, but like from what I know, of like downtown Orlando or any downtown where everything is there, right?
Yeah,
Like, you know
yeah.
how you connect Brickell with downtown in Miami, everything there. That's what it's going to
Coconut
be.
Grove kind of type of thing.
Exactly, the whole
Yeah.
thing. So if it's going to be anywhere, it's going to be there, and I think we have a few years to go for that. But I think that when that happens, I personally think that's going to be the next elevation of Punta Cana, in my opinion, right? Because you need that. You need places to go. You know, I look at places like you go to Panama, Casco Viejo, you come here, Zona Colonial, right? You go to Medellin, Provenza, bro, Provenza is 24/7.
Yeah.
So you need a place where there's a concentration. And we're from New York, so New York has the East Village, the largest concentration of liquor licenses in the world.
Yeah.
So why do people go, like, where are we going? East Village. What are we going to do? Find a place.
We'll find
Let's
a place.
see where
Don't
it
worry
is,
about
right?
it. How many times have you done that walking around New York and
I
you're
used to
just
live
like,
there. I used to live on the East 10.
Right.
East
where are we
14.
going? I don't know. I'll meet you in this corner. Let's figure it out.
I'm gonna walk and see where I can go and grab a table or
Let's see
whatever,
what's
right?
there. Yeah. What's the most packed? Let's go. All right. Whatever.
And that's because I see the master plans for all these, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm selling all these properties, and I see not just the properties, but the commercial center,
the commercial
the
stuff
seed on the other
outside
side
of it, yeah.
They're on the other side of the seed, right, which is part of downtown, but on that side of the highway, they're building like that. They've sold commercial lots, which is like the downstairs, then the upstairs half in, half is a terrace. Those are prime setups for cafes.
That's
so you
crazy.
look at the layouts, and not just for offices, they're for
Yeah,
businesses,
yeah,
they're
yeah.
for restaurants. So it's going to be a megapolis. I like that word, megapolis. That's actually a hotel brand.
Yeah. Megapolis?
Yeah,
Really?
they bought the Hard Rock in Panama City. It's called
Okay.
Megapolis.
Megapolis?
If you look it up online, they have them all over the world, right?
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a megapolis. No pun intended.
For
Sorry,
downtown
trademark lawyer. I'm
Punta
not using your trademark. What do you call it? Excuse me. It's that. And that's where it's going to be concentrated, because it's going to be the way it's like, let's say a square, right? You're going to be able to get around. You're going to move here.
Yeah.
You're going to move there. Parking, which is a massive issue. You always need to have parking. You can't, and that's what's going to keep Corrales is going to go through a certain point, but it can't expand more than it has because it's the ocean's there. So you need parking. You need parking for people.
I'm definitely afraid of the expansion for Corrales. Definitely afraid of it because of the fact that we only have one road in, one road out.
There are two that they're going to connect. It's just, one's next to Texaco,
Yeah.
right there by Bibiagua, and I forgot where the other one is. They're going to do it. So, okay, you'll have two more exits going to the main road. But that main road,
But it's still one
road.
road.
And you can't expand it because they built right on it.
Right.
Which, poor planning. It
Right,
sucks.
right.
That's why
and then you also have the you're taking the road, but it's like a dump truck next to a motoconcho, next to a guy, driving his family home. So it's like it's all on the same road. I wish it would all almost been like those roads you're talking about. Maybe they could just be service roads instead. Let the construction just work in that only. You
Right.
know? Yeah.
I
For
think
now,
so.
until they finish it up.
Because what happens is you can't build on the side because they've built right on it, right? So there's nowhere to expand the
Yeah.
lanes, right? You can't do one and one. That would have been ideal what to do. I personally dislike going up there. You saw my video this week. There was a hole underneath the water there.
Which
if
is
I would've
horrible.
Dude, I have a
Horrible.
Jeep. If I would have had my Beamer, that would have been it. $2,000 in tires and maybe rim damage.
Easily.
The hole was.
Didn't somebody die over there?
Yeah,
Wasn't there
somebody
a
died. in
bad
that hole.
accident in that
Yeah,
hole?
they
Yeah.
told me somebody died. I'm assuming maybe it was a motorcycle because the hole was so deep.
Yeah.
So what happens is that's just poor planning, right? But they can't expand more than that. And Corrales is great for people that want to be walking distance to the beach bars and everything. It serves its purpose, but it can't be the epicenter of Punta Cana.
Negative, no.
Just like Punta Cana
No
Village,
way.
because Punta Cana Village is formed around, people that don't know. Most of it is locals, Dominicans from Santo Domingo that are executives, high-paid people, and they
Right.
want a nice, quiet lifestyle. That's the division. I think a lot of expats, they're like, yeah, Dominicans are like the Comado, and they're boo, boo, bling, bling. Yeah, that's the hood, bro. That's the same thing
That's
like
the hood
Washington
anywhere, yeah.
Heights, like that. That's the same thing as the South Bronx. That's the hood. Regular Dominicans, bro, you put your music too loud, they're going to be knocking on your door. Oye,
Yep.
mira, ¿qué está pasando aquí?
Yep.
Right? Like, I can't do it. I lived in Piantini, Bella Vista. You think
Yep.
I could be sitting there, throwing a party with everybody?
Bro,
on the
I am the
Oh,
old man, like the get off my lawn kind of thing in the States. Like, I'm sorry, but like that's me. If like the music it's 9:30, 9:45, and like I kind of can still hear your music when I'm listening to the TV. I don't care what it is. Hey, bro,
You have become that guy.
become that guy, man.
I've got to sleep early today.
Right. Today's it's Sunday, right? Like, what are you doing? Yeah.
But it's like that here also. I've lived in places where people live and everybody's super respectful. They're not
Right,
on the
of
street
course.
with dominoes,
Of course.
screaming with boom boxes and all that kind of stuff. That's a big misconception a lot of you guys have. When
Yeah.
you come down here, you have to understand it's the environment that you put yourself into. So yes, if you're in those back streets of Corrales, you have the colmados and everybody's doing that. You come to the village, it's like, hello.
Negative.
Is anybody here?
That's
Here?
not gonna
There's
happen.
nobody there.
Yeah.
No, and you
That's not
can't.
gonna happen.
And you
Yeah.
can. They'll tell you straight up.
Which I think for me, like I'm getting acclimated to that, right? Because I spent 35 years in New York, and so like not that I wouldn't say that was like my idea of what Dominican Republic was, right? Because like I'm Puerto Rican, so I know that it's like the same thing. It's like you go to the hoods and yes, but you can go to other parts of Puerto Rico. That's not the case, right?
Exactly.
And I'm still trying to figure out like how do I deal with the quiet life here and then get that pampara involved every now and then, right? And so like I normally do it when I leave. I go to New York all the time for work. So then, okay, that whole week I'm out, the whole week hanging out. I come back home and I don't do it. I just chill and relax in my house, right? But I think that growing out the downtown area and adding all of those elements to it, I agree with you. I think it could take it to a whole nother level because you do still have a lot of people here that want to hang out, want to see live music, want to enjoy themselves. Like I'm going to Zona Colonial this week, right? And the main reason that, we were considering going to other parts of the island, we're considering going someplace else, right? But we said, you know what? Let's go to Zona Colonial because we just want to see culture.
Correct.
Right? And there's not too much of it here, right? In terms of like, I want to go see museums. I want to see like live music all the time. Like that's why I'm here to live in the Dominican Republic because I love this culture. So I want to go see more of it. And I'm hoping that with those areas that you're mentioning in downtown or even other parts of the eastern region, we can bring in more of that from the capital and more like cultural events, right? Like I think one of the better events I'm probably going to say that I've ever been to was in Capcana. And they did it was like a jazz fest, right?
Okay.
Like that, right? Like they had like a super dope jazz fest. They brought in what's this guy's name? One of the Perico Ripiaos guys, right? And he came in, bro. He did like a 40-minute set with the jazz band. It was like the with the accordion. Yo, one of the better nights I've ever had. So I'm always wishing, I'm like, why can't we get more of that here? El Prodigio, sí, sí.
fue El
Ese no
Prodigio.
El Prodigio, sí. Recuerda eso, ¿verdad?
Kind of looks like me.
Wow, what a
My boy
night.
took a picture with him. It's like,
Prodigio, wow, what a night. What a night that was. I want more of that here. Like,
and that's to be brutally honest.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
going through something right now in regards to that personally, right?
Yeah.
And I was talking to my girlfriend who's seen me in my element and who's seen me out of my element. And even though I love Punta Cana for what it is, I work here and this is my business and this is what I do. My happy place is Santiago. Because and then Santo Domingo comes second, and then whatever. The bottom line is that's what I miss. I don't go out here, bro. I know you know me. Then you run into me once in a while in the mall or whatever. But
it's like in the supermarket,
right? But you barely ever see me like even posting going out. Once in a while I go para patio or whatever.
Yeah.
But what happens? And I remember one time I think it was Urbanda or Banda Real was gonna be here, and I hit up in a group of people that we have like brokers, and I realized that everybody was Venezuelan and nobody cares about that. I was like, damn,
right?
You know what I mean? They were like, oh, what?
Right.
Urbana.
Who?
Banda Real, ¿qué?
Banda qué?
Right.
Who? Yeah.
That's one thing I'm hoping, please, that this happens here soon so I can get my sanity back. Because I literally, like, I don't, the driving here drives me crazy. And every time I have to go to Santiago, I'm like, damn, or whatever. But in Santiago, bro, I'm not home ever.
Yeah.
In Santiago, I got my typical Fridays, so I know which band is going to be where.
Right.
Thursdays,
That's
I
what
know
I'm
where
looking
going.
for. Yeah.
Saturday, I got my boys. Everybody I
looking
know,
for that.
like, a lot of people I know own different bars and restaurants.
Yeah.
So I just, even if I don't know anybody, I know the owner. So I go hang
Right.
out and
just chill.
Sí,
Yeah.
me tomo un coro,
Hey,
ya.
corta ahí, ya. Coge esto. Yeah.
And that's, I think, that to me, I've got 20 years coming here and I started in Santiago. And up until not this June, but the last June, I gave up my apartment in Santiago. And then I just gave up my apartment in Santo Domingo because I stay at my girl's house. I'm trying not to spend so much money because I want to travel more. But like that for me, I'm going through a crisis right now because my girl was like, you're not the same person here. She was like, you're in your element. Like I go to Santiago on Thursday. Don't bother me till Monday till I have to leave.
Right.
I'm in my
chilling.
coro y ya. And
Chilling.
I'm praying to the 3,000 plus gods invented by my end that y'all bring somebody down here to do that, because I would love to do that. Because I'm not a disco guy. I know they open up some of these discos for like the expats and they go and they listen to trap music. I'm sorry, I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't listen to trap in the US. I'm not listening to that here.
Right.
I want Queruban, I'm old, I'm saying old stuff, but I want típico. Like I went to my friend's wedding in Santiago and they had Banda Real there. I was like,
right,
man,
bro, what are we doing? Of course, right.
My friend's wedding was a bomb, and
course,
I can't get that here.
I want to see like live salsa. I want more. I'm a salsero, so all I do, I listen to. I would say 60% of the music I listen to is salsa. So it's like I want to be able to see that more here, and
like a Latin vibe.
Yeah, like we're here,
vibe.
We're not in. This is not Florida. This is not like, and even parts of Florida sometimes I feel like are more Latino than Punta Cana. So it's like
100%. If you're in Brickell, if you're in downtown Miami or whatever around there, you probably have a more Latin, and that's the reason why. Well, you done said something, so now I'm gonna go back to it.
Let's do it.
You said there are people who don't even speak English who are chilling here, right?
Right.
And then there's people like us who are looking for that vibe that we're used to, and we're just like, damn. ¿Dónde está la vaina?
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I
yeah.
want to be. I'm out of my. They're in their element more here than I'm not. I'm not in my element.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and
Right.
I like the whole
I got what you're
music. You know, típico salsa, merengue, bachata, a little bit of reggaeton, dembow, whatever, and a nice patio, kind of salada,
Right.
botones, vaina.
Chilling,
Like that's
right.
what I like to do, and I don't have anywhere
Yeah,
where I
yeah,
can
yeah.
do that here,
Yeah.
and I'm hoping
It's
that's
difficult
gonna
to
come.
find that here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and but that also is the reason why expats like it, because I feel like it's DR light. Right? And listen, any area, I'm gonna be honest, brutally honest with you.
Interesting.
Any area that's a beach town is DR light.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Because I love the North Coast people. Love you guys. I live on the North Coast. I have the note. So Playa Alicia tattooed on my stomach. So don't give me nothing, right? What do you call it? But they were like, we're here in Sisura, Cabaret, wherever, and we're living the real DR life. You're watching a bunch of white folks singing classic rock on a
Right,
beach
right,
bar.
right.
That is probably
Right.
the most
That's like-
non-Dominican thing I've ever seen in my
That's
entire
like
life.
Northern Florida life.
Right.
Okay,
That's
yeah.
like, okay, we're in the Keys now.
Yeah, yeah.
And
We just
Chuck
got
and
to
his
the
band is
Keys.
going to sell. There's nothing
Yeah,
wrong
yeah,
against that, but that's not real life.
That's not here, bro. Yeah,
Like,
that's not here.
I've been here for 20 years. I grew up with Dominicans in New York. I hang out here in spot. I don't see you guys. I don't see. There is no Chad. There is no Tad. There is no Becky singing,
Yeah.
these are the days of our lives.
Right.
That's not like what it is. And I feel like if you're living in a beach town, even though they might want to make it seem like it's real life, right? Real DR life. No, you got DR light.
Light.
If you
Yeah.
can talk to people in a restaurant in English, I don't talk English when I barely even talk English in general. But when I'm not here, like Santo Domingo, Santiago, talk English.
Sí, no,
what,
no,
who,
inglés.
where?
Inglés, yeah, no.
Right. So it
Digo-
is. It's like an ease into introduction.
Yeah.
You go to, and if it's a place where there are a lot of German people, like so I had a lot of German people.
Right,
Okay,
right.
you're with your people. If they're speaking French, you're with your people. If you're with the Italians, cazzamara, they're all doing their thing. You're getting an introduction to the country on a light version of it, right? Because you got to throw yourself into the pot. Like I started here 20 years ago. There was
Right.
no English.
Right. Punta Cana was like a road, like one road probably. That was at that point, 20 years ago.
Monte Culebra.
Sí.
Cap Cana's got like 22, 23 years ago, so
Yeah.
that wasn't even there, right?
I remember I think the first time I came to Punta Cana was 2008. And I stayed at what's the name of the Texaco, the place that's right next to it? You got the Texaco, and then you have the supermarket there, Lama. And
So you were by now Larimar,
Wait,
Lopesan.
Lopesan, right next to Lopesan.
Okay.
But that used to be, that was a hotel,
Correct.
right? Exactly. Villa Bávaro, sí. But that was a hotel there, right? And so like we actually stayed there at that hotel. And if I'm remembering correctly, like everything beyond that, there was really not much there. Like Cocota probably was there at that point, but the whole center,
Half of Cocota, that
yeah,
is-
right, half of Cocota, like even like where I'm at, like further down Corrales, a lot of that stuff wasn't around, right? And then even I've seen the difference as to I moved here in 2017. 2017 I moved here, and Jumbo wasn't around. Like the downtown area that you're talking about, that whole mall, like that just opened up like the month that I moved here. So I'm really interested to see as to, okay, now we're in 2024, what's the next 5 years going to look like, right? Like if they're able to finish up all that downtown area in Punta Cana downtown, I'm hoping that they take some of that consideration of what we're talking about here and bring in like the culture, right? Like bring in more of it.
I think it's gonna. I'm hoping, right?
Yeah.
That it's gonna happen by the fall, but there's only so much DR light that you can do.
Yeah,
before
yeah.
people are like everything's DR
Like,
light.
okay,
This is
bro,
boring,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And when you really think about it, then you got the other extreme on Avenida España, right?
Yeah.
You have the hood spots.
Yeah,
and they
yeah,
love
yeah,
that.
yeah,
They love that. They're like,
it,
this is so
Yeah.
real.
They like hanging out there until like 9, though.
It's like
and that's
but,
it.
but it's like two extremes though. Think about
Yeah,
this,
yeah,
right?
it's crazy.
It's
It's crazy.
either like you either have Bob and Janet singing classic rock,
Yeah,
right?
Or down the block is
and it's like
eso,
right, and it's like all the
este,
tigres are there
yeah,
and
yeah,
everything,
yeah,
and it's
yeah.
just like
Whole
like
huge
dude,
difference.
I wouldn't hang out there because it's
Yeah,
not
yeah, yeah.
my kind of crowd, right?
Right.
So that middle thing,
I feel
here-
like I'm too old for it. I've done that, but I feel like I'm too old for it now.
Right, because,
Yeah.
and especially if you travel around the country, you go to a nice. And I'm not talking about it's got to be high end, don't, because no, bro. Like I got to tell people the best spot if you ever go to like to Santiago, one of the best examples of what's dope is I call it un colmado fino, see? It's called La Bodega de Neno.
Okay.
In Los Jardines.
Okay.
It's a bodega, but it's like super clean. They have like I was drinking Heineken for 134 pesos there, bro. This spot in front of the park in Los Jardines, right? Bro, this spot is ram-packed, affordable, nice, clean. They got
Chill,
the kids,
great
meseros there,
time, great
music
service,
going on
yeah,
all the
chilling.
time, the park
Yeah.
filled. That's what it's really like. So you don't have to go to a high. When I mean real life here, that doesn't necessarily mean that you got to go spend money in SBG,
Right,
you
right.
know, or
Right,
whatever.
right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Or,
No, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Como se cielo.
Yeah.
I'm talking about like something that's just it's the vibe, right?
Yeah.
The best place. I don't know. I heard they reopened back up, and I got to see if I go up there because I'm moving back downtown somewhere around here. I need to be closer to my office.
Yeah.
But El Can used to be like that before.
It was, yeah.
Before the pandemic.
Yeah.
I really liked El Can.
I used to take friends that would come from New York and the Heights specifically, and they'd be like, "Where do we go?" And I'm like, "El Can's the only place we
Right,
can go."
'cause that was legit.
and we had a great time.
And it wasn't too hood.
No, it
'Cause there's
wasn't.
other spots
It
which I
wasn't.
will not name, and even some of the clubs here, they're hood. They're hood.
Yeah.
They're mad hood. Like
Yeah.
I didn't come all the way down here to be like in some hood spot listening to hubba. Like if that's your thing, you'll stay in New York. Stay
I got
wherever
enough
you're
scars
from,
on my
bro.
body. I don't really need any more I don't need any bullet holes. Or, I'm good. So.
But that's what it was, El Can, and so that's kind of like what's needed.
Yeah,
Stuff
yeah.
like that, and you know, El Can. Remember, they had El Mayor there one time.
Oh, El Can was
And
dope,
yeah,
man.
they used to have like the
Yeah,
live performances.
of course.
Because also here, what it is it's a large mixture. Like I go back to when Banda Real was here and I wanted to go, and then I realized in my chat group most of the people were Venezuelan, so they didn't even know what I was talking
Yeah,
about,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Then my expat friends, they're like, no, español,
Banda?
like they didn't understand what it was.
Banda?
Exactly. So
Yeah.
the thing is, I think that even more like Dominicano Cente, once they start moving in all the properties that they bought here, that's kind of like when it was going to bring that.
That vibe.
Around, right?
That
Because
vibe.
I find some of the expats, they go and they're just like, oh my God, merengue, so cool. But they don't actually, they'll enjoy it for a little bit, but they don't actually understand it.
They hear a couple of songs and then it's kind of like, okay, they're ready to move on. They hear something else.
Right.
That they're
They don't
comfortable with.
they're not on the second bottle of rum. Like,
No. Right.
They don't have a story that they can tell you what happened.
Definitely not that.
And that's what it is. I think as we grow and as these places get built, by default, they're going to have to start offering more to people.
Yeah.
But it's a process. Like you said, look, I came here in 2011. I think it was my first time. Monte Culebra. I remember getting on the back of a motoconcho when Orange was right here in Friusa, and I had to go to Plaza San Juan because that was the central for Orange was
Yeah,
at least
right.
now to put a chip in one of my phones or whatever. And I was just like right next
Before
to it.
WhatsApp.
It was just, it was Blackberries. It was just all just like terreno.
Yeah,
everything
yeah,
that's
yeah.
downtown.
Right.
Everything
Right.
was just like hello.
Right.
Like it just looked like
Right.
Badlands. There was
Where are
nothing
we?
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
And I think it's interesting too because I've noticed that just in the time frame of living here, a lot of families are not from Punta Cana, right? From Higüey or La Capital. Some of them, not too many. I haven't encountered too many from Santiago, but more like the capital, a little bit further up into Higüey, right? And I think that now I've noticed a difference in the past couple of years where there are younger couples here with younger kids that live in Punta Cana. The kids may have not been born in Punta Cana, but they've been here since 6, 7, 8, 9, right? So I think it's going to be really interesting to see what that younger generation turns into as we move on and move along into Punta Cana, because I don't think anybody can really say, like, I'm from Punta Cana. Like, I've met tons of people that are like, yes, I've been here 15 years, 20 years, but nobody's actually said, no, I was born and raised in, Hopiting or whatever, right? Like, I haven't seen that. So I'm really interested to see when the first generation of that happens and, like, what they're going to turn this place into.
because the people that were here when it was Punto Borrachos, that was the name of it, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's what it is. Actually,
That
Drunk
was
Point,
really
right?
Drunk Point.
Yeah, that's what it was called. So before
I didn't know
Don
Yeah,
Ranieri
everything.
bought it and everything, right? Those people
Gotcha.
sold their land.
Gotcha.
Most of those people sold their land. There's one barrio in Juanillo, on the side of Capcana, that they're like original. They've been here since before Capcana. Right in the back
Really?
over there, when you go in the back of Las Canas,
Yeah,
there's a
yeah.
barrio there. Puta Borrachón, algo así. Yeah, okay, it was like something like that. Yeah.
You're right. Actually, I know somebody that owns land in that space you're talking about.
Exactly. And those people like the originators. They're like the
Yeah.
last of the Indians left
Yeah,
here,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Those are your Tainos that you're looking for.
Yeah,
They're
right.
over there, bro. They're in the back of
Where are
Juanillo,
they?
they're
Where
back of
are they?
Capcana.
Let's
You're going
go.
to find them.
You're right.
But and it's true, and it's like most of the people here from the capital on, because the Cibaeños, they drop down either to Cabrera, because they can connect through San Francisco by Cabrera, or they drop down into Puerto Plata. And if they sometimes they go to Playa Alicia, they go like that, but if they got money, they all bought in Playa Dorada. And they got condos, Costa Azul, all these places there, and they have the little condos on the beach, and that's what they do.
Yeah, and they're chilling. Yeah.
But now,
No reason.
But
Yeah.
now comes the X Factor. You know what the X Factor is?
What's that?
That we're talking about all this growth from now to the end to 2030. Let's just say, right? Next 6
Okay.
years, right?
Right.
The train. The train, boss, the train. Once that train is supposed to connect Santo Domingo, Santiago, and Punta Cana.
That's right. Supposedly, on paper, an hour and 45 minutes from here to the capital.
Which makes sense
in
because
the
the distance is not... No, an hour and 45. No, papa.
Less?
Yeah.
Really?
53 or 58 minutes, right? 53 or 58 minutes.
To the capital? From Punta Cana?
Yes, which stops in San Pedro, La Romana, Higüey, and here. And then they're going to do Santiago. When that train connects to Punta Cana...
Yeah, that's going to be a whole new ballgame.
That's going to be a game changer. You're going to see something that you've never seen before, and that's going to change everything. The only thing I hope is that they don't come from the capital to Santiago and they don't ruin it. I was talking to my boys about that, and I really like Santiago. It's clean, it's nice. Please leave it like that. Yeah. Don't touch it. Stay.
Leave it alone.
Go to Punta Cana. No?
Come here.
We got plenty of space for you guys. So listen, guys. It's time for us to rock and roll off the show. We had another great episode. Thank you, Pablo, for coming on board.
Brother. Thank you for having me.
Blast.
Always.
And before we
can
go,
keep going and keep talking. Tons of stuff.
We need to do like one of these, like shout out to the sponsors. Naco Cochones. They sell cochones here in Punta Cana. They have a sucursal here on the highway and in Naco, Santo Domingo. I'm gonna probably have to buy one soon for a new apartment for them. And pillows, great pillows. Thank you so much for being a sponsor on the show. Now we also have here, Samana Group, largest landholders in the Samana Peninsula and doing some of the coolest projects that if you love Samana, you love the vibe of Samana, that's the people, that's what you want to look at. That's the projects that you want to look at. It captures the entire Samana vibe. And then last but not least, we have Gold Reef Properties. Tons of different developments they're doing here in Punta Cana, including beach access and Playa Nueva Romana. They have homes, villas, and they have apartments. And that place has PGA Oceans 4, and there's a marina that they're going to start building the next year. So you can see Santo Domingo here. You can see La Romana over there in the middle of everything. Great sponsors. Thank you so much, guys, for being part of this. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys in 2 and 2.
Hi everybody, it's your boy Mario Fama, RD, a.k.a. Yo soy Blanco, pero no soy banco. And yes, it's time. We're finally launching the Mario Fama RD podcast. Now, what's going to be different about this podcast? Well, we're going to take our rose-colored glasses off. We're going to put our real glasses on. And we're going to talk about the hard-hitting subjects that nobody talks about being an expat here in the Dominican Republic and in Latin America in general. We're going to talk about law. We're going to talk about business. We're going to talk about lifestyles, and everything the Dominican Republic has to offer. The good, the bad, the ugly. Kind of like the Clint Eastwood Spaghetti Western, but here in the Dominican Republic. If you have any questions, we'll answer them for you. We're going to talk about everything that relates to being an expat, not just in Punta Cana, but Santo Domingo, Santiago, the North Coast, the East Coast, West Side, even the West Coast. Everywhere. And if you want to be a patrocinador and have your logos up here and sponsor us, then let me know.
Para los que buscan un lugar agradable y cómodo en Verón Punta Cana, Aparta Hotel Dubai, un ambiente